why wait for it? The best things are not worth waiting for.
Couldn't agree
Sometimes,
more.
if you can just do it right away. There's some exceptions, but these players just want to get the nerves over with, get on the stage and play what is probably the biggest match of both of these players' careers. Winner of this gets so much glory, so much, pride, and one step closer to becoming a world champion. It's going to be Piper lepine up against Shizuki Nakagawa. We'll see how this matchup plays out.
Yeah, we absolutely will. Both of these players, I imagine, the nerves will be high, but also the focus and the concentration will be high as well, as they both... We keep talking about it, right? It almost feels like we're a broken record, but it is so true. Every stage of the tournament that you advance further, the stakes get higher and higher. Now, we're looking at potential top 4 spots, and as you were talking about before, Ethan, 3 matches between you and that world champion title.
So we're just making sure everything is being taken care of at this point. Of course, these players setting up. Looks like a mulligan or 2 specifically for Piper. This will again be Raging Bolt EX paired with the Knock Towel up against Goldango EX with Genesect and the cute little inclusion of that 101 using the rare candy to evolve Togekiss line. Is that potentially going to be what's required for Piper to win this? A little bit of luck, a little bit of coin flip action, or is that really just a cherry on top in a matchup like this?
I guess we'll have to wait and see. Now, I know there's one person who was playing in the World Championships who, although didn't have the best day themselves, Antoine Boulet has got to be feeling pretty chuffed seeing the Togekiss special. A card they did very well with playing it in Goldango at some regionals in Europe this year, so I imagine that Antoine feels like a little piece of them is in the top cut at least, even if their Worlds run didn't go so great.
There's the Togekiss fans out there happy to see that Togekiss is finally on the world stage. It really hasn't had a shining card or an archetype in a while, especially for a tournament like this. It's finally getting here right now. Players are setting up. Let's take a look at these prize cards. Oh no, here. Double Genesect EX prize for Piper. This is a nightmare situation.
Only 2 Genesect in the deck, so with both of them prized, no way to get it out and no way to use that metallic signal ability and search your metal type evolutions. That's horrendous.
Not what you want to see. There is a single copy of Ultra Ball, so that can at least search one of these Goldango out of the deck, but is really going to have to rely off of potentially some strong coin bonus abilities or even Cypher Maniac's code breaking to get that into play. Not having access to those pieces, especially in a huge match like this, already before the first turn has even started, a crushing blow for Piper in terms of setup.
Yeah, really not where you want to be, but Piper is a strong player. We've seen her play her way out of many tricky situations like this one. If anyone can try and make it work with this, it's got to be her. But here, we see the fist bump. We are kicking off our first top 8 match here at the Pokemon Trading Card Game 2025 World Championships, and it looks like Shizuki will be going first.
Exactly what you want to see. Nest Ball turn 1, and this is the Rotom show. Fan Rotom, we really haven't showcased him that much on the stream. Raging Bolt's been pretty absent from our coverage, but here it is now for you Raging Bolt fans. On that first turn, Fan Rotom has one of the best setup abilities, allowing you to search your deck for 3 colorless Pokemon with 100 HP or less. Important to note, these could be basic or evolution Pokemon. The Noctowl only has 100 HP. Hoot Hoot with less. You could search those out and get ready for a powerful turn on turn number 2.
Yeah, it's interesting to see this version of the deck is the one that made it to top 8, of course. We did see, it was Kabufukaze, right, who just won the Japan National Championships with the birdless version, the no Fan Rotom version of this deck. But Shizuki opting to put the Noctowls and the Fan Rotom back in, and it's obviously paid off very well for him.
So we will see the Hoot Hoot. I assume one more, definitely the choice. And now it just comes down to how many Noctowl Shizuki has access to. If there is a Noctowl in hand, a lot of the times you'll just want to get these Hoot Hoot down and have access to that. Is still just going to go for the mix. 2 Hoot Hoot, 1 Noctowl, and now the question really becomes, is there an energy drop available, especially if it can go onto the baby Raging Bolt, which can be so powerful in this matchup, even more so that finding Goldango EX is going to be just a little bit more difficult not having Genesect EX.
Yeah, very much so. It's pretty much that single prize Raging Bolt EX, one of the best attackers you have against Gardevoir. You can really control the board pretty well, but looks like wasn't able to find it, so still an energy drop onto the Raging Bolt EX at least, so then it's just a pass, and Piper fires back with an Arven of her own.
And Piper's going to get the bad news very quickly.
Oh, yes.
No Genesect in play, so what would probably be normally a Nest Ball grabbed off of this Arven may actually have to be that one copy of Ultra Ball. There's already a Buddy Buddy Poffin in the hand for Piper, so getting the Gimme Ghouls down is already taken care of. The question now becomes, do you, by grabbing Ultra Ball, you do kind of telegraph to your opponent what you have in hand, and may make Shizuki even more keen towards targeting down these Gimme Ghouls on the bench if it means burning resources like a Prime Catcher or Boss's Orders.
Yeah, I've got to say though, Piper going through the deck very confidently and already slamming down the 2 choices from the Arvin. Poker Face of Steel right here, very appropriate for a Goldengo deck. It's very impressive to see Piper just, you know, so laser focused and not giving away what we know is a horrendous news for her.
So we'll take note that those 2 Genesect EX are unavailable, as it looks like it will be the Buddy Buddy Poffin, as well as another tool card. The Air Balloon, it looks like, is considered, actually may not have an Air Balloon to grab in this hand, deciding to actually just grab Buddy Buddy Poffin, it seems. So we'll see the 2 Gimme Ghoul come down into play. One of those will be the Call for Family, so that can search out an extra Pokemon. And it seems like that will be the choice. Air Balloon, Monkey Dory, retreat into the Gimme Ghoul, and Call for Family will grab yet another Gimme Ghoul into play. And you did actually make an interesting point earlier on in the game. Sometimes it's actually better to not bench the Genesect early on. It is sort of a nice byproduct, unfortunately, of prizing those Genesect. You have no choice, and the single prize early strategy has to be what you go for.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's getting out more Gimme Ghoul, got to be a pretty good feeling. But now it's up to Shizuki. How does Shizuki respond to this? Since he wasn't able to get an energy onto the single prize Raging Bolt, there won't be any option for a 90 damage Thunderburst Storm to take a KO on one of these Gimme Ghoul. But could still maybe go ahead and KO this active Gimme Ghoul. That's not going to be like the worst feeling in the world. Teal Dance comes in for the first time. 1 grass energy attached to that Teal Mask Ogerpon. Going to draw a card afterwards. Pretty big hand to work with, as we do see, now the Jewel Seeker coming in.
Jewel Seeker now online thanks to that Teal Mask Ogerpon, that Terrastal Pokemon hitting the board. And go ahead and just search out any 2 trainer cards from the deck. The Earthen Vessel, being able to discard some energy and grab some, and would not be surprised to see something like Professor Sada as the other card.
It is.
It will be the exact 2 choices, and now is the question, what attacker do you go for? Are you confident attacking with this Raging Bolt EX, or is something like the Thunderburst Storm Raging Bolt non-EX a better choice in the spot?
Yeah. Quick fire quiz for you, Ethan. Do you remember Sada's Japanese name?
It is, oh my gosh, you're going to put me on. It's actually Sada. I believe it's the same thing.
No, it's Orim.
Oh, it's Orim. Yeah,
yes.
of course.
Orim Sensei.
Putting me on the spot here. Come on, it's been like 2 years.
You're our local rep there.
I was thinking of Futu, which is the other guy.
Oh,
it's the Turo. So I was getting a little bit mixed up, but it is Orim no Hakase. So a little bit of Japanese knowledge for our viewers, but we'll keep things comprehensible for those viewing internationally, rather in the States and abroad. It will be that Raging Bolt EX. How are you thinking about the Japanese Pokemon names? Come on, let's lock back into the English and get here. We are going to see potentially a Thunderburst Storm online as an option. And this is where that 50 HP Gimme Ghoul, while it's great at using Call for Family to grab Pokemon, it now means it's very reasonable for it to be one of the KO targets from that Thunderburst Storm, since the 2 energy means it will be knocked out from the 60 damage snipe, rather than the 60 not being enough to knock out those 70 HP benched Gimme Ghouls.
Yeah, but the only bit missing, I think, for Shizuki is a way to get this Raging Bolt into the active. He's considering burning the Prime Catcher, and actually just going to go ahead and go for it.
Yeah, it's just going to play the Prime Catcher, valuing taking this first KO with a 1 prize Pokemon. Since Piper is actively attacking with 2 prize Pokemon, the Gust is not as important as it is in other matchups. You can knock out this bench Gimme Ghoul, keep this Raging Bolt in the active spot, and from there, force Piper to have a Gust plus something like this Energy Search Pro. This is piece number 1, but again, without the help of Genesect's Metallic Signal, it's going to be pretty difficult for Piper to get this board set up, pending there's not a Goldengo EX in the hand right now. Yeah,
at the very least, a full complement of the 8 energy from that Energy Search Pro, so that's going to be a good feeling, if nothing else. And that is, of course, the disadvantage of playing that Call for Family Gimme Ghoul. It is a great attack to get a bench Pokemon out, but it does, unlike the other Gimme Ghoul that you play, have enough, or little enough HP for 60 damage to be enough with the Thunderburst Storm for a knockout. So Shizuki recognizing that and capitalizing on that very, very well.
Does have 1 Goldengo EX, and Big Find finds the other Goldengo EX. Genesect not even needed in this spot, and also has another copy of Air Balloon, so can get the maximum 4 cards from these coin bonus abilities and has Cypher Maniac. This is the perfect turn. Can search out the counter catcher from the deck to allow Piper to take the first 2 prize cards potentially if it is in the deck.
There's no counter catcher in the list even.
Not playing counter catcher. It feels like that card is almost a staple in this Goldango deck, but instead, not playing that card is going to have to settle for a 1 prize knockout in response.
Ooh,
and there's already so many energy on Shizuki's board that it's almost inevitable something like Goldango EX will be knocked out in the following turn.
Yeah, this would have been an absolutely ideal situation to go for the counter catcher, but Piper does have, of course, that Togekiss ready to go, and this goes back to something you were saying at the beginning. You take out a 1 prize knockout, it doesn't feel great, but maybe the Togekiss can be the difference maker that makes that okay.
And now with that Pokemon being in play, I have to wonder if, Shizuki's plan this turn changes a little bit. It feels like target number 1 on the board, the Togekiss, just sort of adds this level of variance to the deck that is not really expected out of Goldango. And honestly, as Shizuki, you're still going to need 3 turns to win this game. Would it really be so terrible to try and recover this Raging Bolt, put 2 energies onto it, and then use another Thunderburst Storm on the Togepi, followed by 2 2-price KOs? That seems very reasonable, and I feel like maybe even desired here from Shizuki.
I was going to say, not only does that not sound terrible, I think that actually sounds pretty optimal here because you're putting up another 1 prizer, your map is still pretty good. I think that could be a really good thing to go for, and it denies Piper a potential comeback option to put the prize map back in her favor. Unfortunately, I don't think there's a way for Shizuki to get it here, and that's kind of acknowledged by the manual attachment of the Lightning Energy and then an Iono for Shizuki.
So usually this 1 hand disruption card in these Raging Bolt decks being used early on, Iono shuffling all those energies for Piper from Energy Surge Pro to the bottom of the deck. And it's going to be really hard, again, to find those Goldango EX with those Genesects being prized. No Teal Dance being used yet. We also do have a Pheasantipity available. That will be benched, Flip the Script used, 3 additional cards drawn. And there's still a Hoot Hoot down in play, so at any point during the game, as long as that Hoot Hoot is not KO'd, there's just the easy ability to search out more trainer cards. And what an excellent few cards. Another Teal Mask Ogerpon, Grass Energy to go ahead and accelerate. And it seems like, yeah, there it is. Another Grass Energy off of the Teal Dance. So just plenty of energy on board, meaning that Raging Bolt's Thunderburst Storm attack, or rather the Bellowing Thunder attack on the EX will be easy to use with there being plenty of those energies available.
Yeah, and look at that as well. Getting another Hoot Hoot down for good measure. So going to be plenty of access to Jewel Seeker. Bellowing Thunder comes in, all the grass, and then 1 energy off the active being discarded. Going to go for the Lightning instead, just kind of split the difference a little bit with the energies on the board. I like that a lot. 2 prizes taken, a great turn for Shizuki.
So Shizuki now having a 2-prize lead, and importantly does draw into Latias EX off the prizes. That's a great card to allow these basic Pokemon to maneuver in and out of the active spot. Again, Piper only having access to 1 coin bonus ability, no easy way to search out the other Goldango, and 1 has just fallen. So we'll grab these energies out of the deck with the Earthen Vessel. Metal Important allows this active Pokemon to attack. The question now becomes, can Piper find a KO onto this Raging Bolt? And as a bonus, can she do it while also putting Togekiss into play to try and swing the prize trade back over either this turn or the following turn with 1 heads coin flip from that Wonder Kiss ability?
So yeah, Pokegear now comes in. What does Piper find off of this? There's a Cypher Maniacs.
Huge find. Cypher Maniac essentially allowing Piper to draw into any 2 cards she pleases to off of this coin bonus. And grabbing the Togekiss means there might already be the rare candy in hand for Piper, meaning that you can just kind of grab an extra card, even something like Goldango EX, with there being no Genesect available to grab that out of the deck.
Yeah, and I like this a lot. You not only, it's kind of a double advantage, right? Because not only does this mean you're taking 3 prize cards if you flip ahead, but that means you're that much more likely to get one of those prize Genesect EXs out of the prizes. So there's a lot of good reasons to go for this here. There's the coin bonus, going to go ahead and draw those 2 cards that were put to the top. Now retreating into the other Gimmighoul, evolve to Goldango, coin bonus for 2 again. There's a good 2 spots for next turn, a Boss's Orders and an Arven. Rare Candy into the Togekiss, and then the Superior Energy Retrieval and the Metal Energy. She's got it all.
Yeah, the exact amount of energies to take this KO, right? 4 back from the Superior Energy Retrieval, the 1 attachment for turn, and the 2 in hand. So you've got 5 energy to discard, and can leave herself with Arven as the last card in hand. Make it rain, and here we go. It's Wonder Kiss time, baby. What's the flip?
What's it's
Tails.
Brutal.
So it's, 1 of 2 flips. This first flip, very important. But now Shizuki has the potential to take a KO on Togekiss this turn to put himself down to 2 prizes and shut that Wonder Kiss ability off, meaning that Piper will not have the potential to win if she can take another 2-prize KO with that Togekiss in play.
Yeah, and it was very smart that Shizuki did leave 1 energy each on each Raging Bolt to make sure that he didn't force himself into needing Episado's Vitality to get enough energy onto the Raging Bolt to attack. So now you can go ahead and Earthen Vessel for some energy, get some onto the field with the Teal Mask Ogerpon, and then attach manually to the Raging Bolt EX, and you can use a Boss's Orders to bring up that Togekiss.
Yeah, it is in the hand already. Interesting to point out, there are 2 Boss's Orders in Shizuki's deck. So one is in the prize cards, one is in the hand. So a lot of these lists sometimes will only play the 1 copy of Boss. So having 2 is a big advantage here for Shizuki. So the big question now, can you get enough energy cards in play? And I think with this Earthen Vessel, it's going to be pretty simple, right? You can find a Fighting Energy if that's in the deck, plus a Grass Energy. I actually think there's only 1 energy card in the deck. It may just be the Grass Energy. I guess
there's 2 of them at least.
Oh, there is a Fighting. Okay, so they're at the back of the deck. So now the question is, do you grab another Grass to get another Teal Dance hit? I think it's better to be safe than sorry.
I think so
Grabs
too.
the Fighting Energy, which means at minimum, with a 2 energy discard from Bellowing Thunder, Togekiss will go down, and Piper will still be 2 KOs away from closing this game out.
Yeah, so this Teal Dance is going to be very, very important here. We have the Fighting ready to the attack. We need 2 more energy as well as the Fighting onto the field to do enough damage for the KO onto the Goldengo. But of course, you do already have enough on the field to take the KO on that Togekiss, which is big.
Yeah, and you still haven't used Flip the Script. You've got plenty of Hoot Hoots on the bench. And let's not forget, there's no hand disruption from Piper. So I hate to say this, but this game is essentially almost locked up at this point. Because what do you do here if you're Piper? I think the only option would be something like using the 1 prize Gimme Ghoul or Goldengo with Strike It Rich to then take 1 prize and put yourself in 2, but there's no Gimme Ghoul on the bench. So what is your choice? Is it just to pass with a 1-prizer? Then that gets KO'd and you're in the same spot you were the previous turn. You've got to expect with your opponent having a Jewel Seeker ability this turn and a Jewel Seeker ability next turn, that things are not going to end well for you.
Yeah, basically no matter which way you square it, nothing feels great. And here's a very interesting tech card coming in, the Energy Switch. This is something that we do see in some of the Japanese Raging Bot lists especially, giving you a little bit more flexibility with powering up your attackers. And yeah, very cool little tech card that this Raging Bot list is playing.
We'll get rid of that Professor Turo along with the Crispin. See what Pokemon is really valued, and it is going to potentially be that Chien Pal, a card that has seen a little bit more inclusion after, like you mentioned, the Japan Championships, being able to, once your turn, benching it, it sort of acts like a resetting hole if you remember cards like Marshadow from back in the day.
Absolutely.
Snow Sync lets you discard that stadium in play, and importantly, get rid of a lot of these liabilities like those Noctowl. So we'll go ahead and bump the Area 0, discarding down the Noctowl, the other Noctowl, I assume, and then we'll see if that Chien Pal leaves play or if it will be that Fan Rotom instead.
It could be Fan Rotom or even the Pheasantipity if you're worried about 2-prize liability, but at the same time, I think you want the extra draw from that, so I think the Fan Rotom makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, makes no difference. Again, there's no hand disruption, so just going to get rid of those Pokemon and play. Make space for the Latias so nothing can get trapped, and even has Nest Ball to find another Raging Bolt EX, or even something like Koraidon just as a way to accelerate energies out of the deck.
Yeah, the Koraidon really, really great. Sort of gives you a little bit of type coverage, of course. If another ancient Pokemon attacked last turn, which Raging Bolt EX is, then it does do an extra, 150 more damage with that Unrelenting Onslaught attack. So 180 for 2 colorless, really, really strong.
So the big question is, after this Raging Bolt potentially goes down next turn, is there a way to use 1 more Bellowing Thunder to win the game? Since the Koraidon does solid damage, but it's really not enough to close things out. Still plenty of cards to be drawn. We haven't seen any of these Teal Dance abilities be used yet. We know there's a Grass Energy.
No, still 1, right?
So we've seen, it looks like, no, I think we've still got access to a couple. Then it looks like actually one has been used. Yeah. There we go. So our players indicating what has been used. So grabbing the other Grass Energy. Fighting Energy is going to be put on for turn. So actually, it looks like we're not going for Boss's Orders this turn. It's actually going to be, never mind. We can do something here. Everything's moving around. It's going to actually go in with the Koraidon to take the KO on Togekiss. This is sort of the best of both worlds. You preserve your Raging Bolt EX, keep energies onto it, and then use that Unrelenting Onslaught to take a KO on this Togekiss, leave a 1-prizer active, and put yourself in an excellent spot to win next turn.
Koraidon proving it's worth its weight in gold right now. What a phenomenal heads-up play from Shizuki. Absolutely, like you were saying, Ethan, the best of both worlds, KOing the thing that Piper can use to take a comeback with your own single prizer. I mean, you can't ask for much better than that.
Yeah, no, plenty of options that turn, but Shizuki understanding I can do essentially everything I want, right? Still wants to take out the Togekiss, but do it with the least liable Pokemon because, you know, Piper can play a Gusting card. It is possible to go after the Raging Bolt, but if you're doing that, can you really reach enough energy cards to take the KO as well? There is a chance you can't play that supporter and get away with a KO without using something like Arven or Cypher Maniac. Still, plenty of cards to draw, and Piper actually having to bench Fezandipity is just another liability, since it means if Koraidon were to stay alive and not be KO'd, it would be able to knock out Fezandipity. As we know, though, there's no counter catcher in this deck, so the Koraidon will be the Pokemon being knocked out. Piper's just going to make sure this KO is online and hope that Shizuki does not have 4 energy cards to discard next turn with that Bellowing Thunder.
Yeah, it really is just going to ultimately come down to that, although we know Shizuki's hand's pretty big. There is a Hoot Hoot ready to evolve into Noctowl for Jewel Seeker for Asada, but I think we're going to see it here. KO onto this Koraidon with Make It Rain. Raging Bolt goes into the active. Does Shizuki just have all the pieces already?
It's already in there, right?
Yeah.
Just needs a Fighting Energy in hand and needs a single energy card from Professor Sada's Vitality, and everything will be wrapped up.
Yeah.
Make sure he just goes through the steps, make sure everything is okay. Nothing has been discarded at this point. We've got 2 more bench slots, and Shizuki's going to go through the motions, but as we mentioned, this game is all but wrapped up. Fighting Energy in hand, another ancient Pokemon, doesn't even need it. Professor Sada's Vitality, Piper sees the writing on the wall. Shizuki Nakagawa taking game number 1 in decisive fashion.
Yeah, absolutely. A ferocious display from Raging Bolt. Raging Bolt doing really what it does best. That is exactly why this deck, no matter how long it's around for, it can always just deal with almost everything that's in front of it. It is you have to add to this deck. It's like the Night Marches and the Mega Rays of the past. Definitely not bringing those two up for any reasons, but it is very much that deck of the format, and it's proving its strength time and time again, and now one more time here at the World Championship stage.
You got to feel for Piper, you know, was potentially a coin flip away from winning that game.
Yeah.
You flip heads on that coin flip, you go down to 2 prize cards, and if you can find Boss's Orders that turn, Make It Rain could just take a KO on one of those Pokemon on the bench. But this is where Togekiss can be strong, but also it's just a lot of work to put this Pokemon in play, and then you flip tails, and it essentially does nothing.
Yeah, you ride or die by the coin flip. Let's go over that game again just to remind ourselves of how it played out. So early on, we saw Shizuki was able to take that really, really great knockout with the single prize Raging Bolt, and then follow it up with a big 2 prize knockout with the EX, cleverly leaving 1 energy on each of the Raging Bolts so that next turn you can go ahead and deal with this Togekiss with this Koraidon play, the Boss's Orders, bringing it up, preserving the energy so nicely. Shizuki really showing how important it is to seek as well in the Raging Bolt deck for the maximum results.
Yeah, and you really have to think about how differently this game plays out if Piper has a card like Counter Catcher in her deck.
Absolutely.
Just take a 2 prize KO, take the lead, and then later on in the game, you know, Togekiss can be an option to take out a 1 prize Pokemon, or you at least give yourself an option for Boss's Orders in consecutive turns to win as well. But there's no changing. This list has been locked in for Piper. It's got to play with the 60 cards that are available to her. So yet again, continuing to see these players set up. Shizuki more than ready, already starting things off. We'll see what Piper decides to do. He's going to go ahead and go first with this deck. We've talked about Goldengo being flexible, but how is choosing to go first somewhat disruptive to Raging Bolt in terms of its powerful setup?
Well, it mainly, especially against this version of the deck with the Noctowls, you really want to be going first with it because you want to be able to get that Fan Rotom down turn 1 and set up your Hoot Hoot. So I think that's really the big reason why you want to go first with if you're playing against this deck, because you just want to get a turn where you can get everything down before this Fan Rotom shenanigans can happen.
So that Genesect that was all missing in game number 1 is here to start things off in the active spot. You know, it's an okay spot to be. Air Balloon can easily move that out of the active, as Piper will be going, searching through the deck, sees that 1 Goldengo EX is prized, but outside of that, these prizes more than navigable. We'll be playing a, you know, somewhat standard strategy in this second game.
It always feels good when you look at your prizes and you think, oh, there's just 1 copy prized of these things I play multiples of that I'm not really too fussed about. I mean, the one exception being the regular Goldengo, the single prize one, but not really something you use in this matchup, so I think it's going to be feel pretty fine about that as well.
Let's just go ahead and grab double Gimme Ghoul, using this Genesect's ability preemptively to take these Gholdengo out of the deck so they aren't potentially drawn into on the next turn, optimizing every small factor to give themselves the best edge in this matchup. So there's the 2 Gholdengo, last one in the deck, so none in the hand, and that's honestly okay when you have Genesect because, once again, they can just easily be grabbed out at any time thanks to that powerful signal.
Just whilst this deck search is going on, I have to draw attention to Piper's comment on her deck list, and I quote, "Time is money." That's the name that she has given to her Gholdengo list.
It's factual. Time is money, and Gholdengo is really the true spokesperson of that slogan. So shout out Gholdengo for preaching what is true. Time is money, and time is hopefully on Piper's side. It was not a super long game 1. Plenty of time for game 2 and 3, so we'll see how much time is needed for Piper to hopefully get herself closer to that huge money, $50,000.
Absolutely. So Shizuki starting off with an Ultra Ball, it looks like. Plenty of options to choose in terms of discard. Is he going to just go ahead and get these 2 energies in the discard straight away?
It's an interesting choice, is sitting on Squawkabilly EX, a Noctowl, Night Stretcher, and Crispin already, so the Crispin can accelerate an energy into play. There is always a world where you can take a turn 1 KO onto something like Genesect EX if you get a Sada's Vitality and the Latias to move the Pokemon and then the Teal Dance and Attachment. It is possible. There is a world. However, with 2 Sada being prized, that acceleration is going to be a lot more difficult. And let's not forget, a key card in that first game, that Baby Raging Bolt with Thunderburst Storm, it is in the prize cards. We'll have to see how Shizuki navigates or rather changes his strategy because that piece is unavailable.
Yeah, and I think Shizuki is going to be doing the maths right now to decide what is the best way to go about this. Do I want to, commit to using a Crispin onto a Raging Bolt EX maybe? But nope, just going to go ahead and make sure that the sort of Terra Pokemon is in play with the Teal Mask Ogerpon EX so that next turn you can go ahead and make use of that Noctowl's Jewel Seeker. So very good for setting up your consistency enabler straight away.
So it looks like this is, Shizuki essentially committing to using Squawkabilly EX this turn, not using the fan call on the Rotom. And we're just going to see it. Squawk and Seize, discards the hand, and a couple of powerful resources, the Crispin, but also 2 ways to recover energy cards from the discard pile, as well as one of those Noctowls. So losing resources always can be a little bit of a pain. Let's find a solid group of Pokemon in the hand. There is an energy card, which we haven't seen an attachment down yet, as well as the Latias. So,
and both Boss's Orders, too.
Both Boss's Orders, and this Fan Rotom means that while there aren't any supporter cards in the hand now, like Professor Sada, guaranteeing a Noctowl as well as 2 Hoot Hoot will make sure that since there is a Terra Pokemon down, trainer cards can start to be searched out of the deck next turn with that Jewel Seeker ability.
One unfortunate piece missing there. If Shizuki was able to find one of his copies of Area Zero on the depths, you could go ahead and attach a energy to this Fan Rotom, use Boss's Orders, and bring it up and KO1 the Gimme Ghoul. That could be really good.
Yeah, of course, cannot use that Assault Landing attack if there is not a Stadium card in play. So a little bit of a small card that you wouldn't think too much about offensively, but it makes all the difference in matchups like these. Just going to be the attachment preemptively onto the Raging Bolt EX, passing the turn over. No prizes taken from Shizuki. It is always a possibility going second with this Raging Bolt deck, but most of the time, over 50%, you're usually expecting with a 2-prizer active, and this board setup, prizes aren't going to be taken. Piper is more than happy with how things are going that way with how things went in the first game of the set.
Yeah, and especially with the specific variant of the deck as well, because generally speaking, if you are doing an attack turn 1 going second, it is with the Fan Rotom. This isn't like the turbo version of the deck, which is kind of almost aiming to get a bigger turn 1 knockout going second with turboing through the deck with the multiple copies of Squawkabilly and all that. They're a little bit more of a slower approach here with this build, and still able to get a pretty decent turn 1 setup. I don't think Shizuki's going to be too upset about the board he's been able to establish.
Coin bonus number 1 being used, and Arvin, very clear supporter of choice, means the Air Balloon will be a guarantee to move Genesect out of the active spot, and another item card can be taken. I wonder if we'll see Earthen Vessel, and that is the choice. Don't need a lot of energy to KO this Fan Rotom. Is that the option here? Do you really want to put up this 2-prize Pokemon preemptively to take this KO? It feels like it's more than likely you'll just get responded to in kind, lose the prize trade, your opponent's going to take the first 2 prizes, and from there, it feels tough, especially if you're unable to get Togepi down this turn and threaten that Wonder Kiss ability next turn.
Yeah, that doesn't really feel great. I mean, usually the whole advantage as Gholdengo is that you force your opponent to be the first one to take a 1-prize knockout, and then you can go 2-2-2 from there. If you're the one taking a 1-prizer instead, I mean, you're not really getting that much further to your game plan unless, of course, you're again relying on that Wonder Kiss heads from the Togekiss.
Yeah, it's tough because if you decide to not play down or not attack this turn with Noctowl at Shizuki's disposal, it's very likely you will just lose a 2-prize Pokemon and then wonder, why did I not just at least take a prize to give myself a chance with Togekiss later in the game? And this seems to be the game plan for Piper. Take a 1-prize knockout this turn, and then take 2 2-prize knockouts and hope that one of these Wonder Kiss abilities flip heads and allow me to get off the odd prizes and put myself back on a track to win with 3 KOs.
And you have to think about this must have been one of the things that Piper was thinking about in her reasoning for why to include Togekiss in the deck. I mean, sure, last time it was a Tails with the Wonder Kiss ability, but if Togekiss wasn't in the deck, then it wouldn't have even been an option at all. So I think Piper is put this in the deck to account for this potentiality, and it's been kind of, it didn't pay off in the game 1, but it could pay off in game 2.
Action back on Shizuki starts things off with a Teal Dance, another Noctowl drawn, so at most, you've always got to be conservative with how you use these Jewel Seeker abilities. They're very powerful, but you're limited in how many you can use throughout the game. Spacing them out is usually a key choice for a lot of these players. We'll just go ahead and put a second Ancient Pokemon down, meaning that Professor Sada's Vitality will be able to accelerate more energy into play, thus meaning we could be on somewhat of a similar game plan for Shizuki. It does become a little bit more difficult since there wasn't a prize card taken last turn, meaning it doesn't line up very, very well with your, go 6-4-2 or from 5-4-2 to win. It makes things essentially forcing you to play a 7-prize game.
Yeah, once again, Sada search for the deck one more time, and with the Koraidon and the Raging Bolt out, both, it's kind of double benefit, right? Not only are you getting to accelerate 2 energies off of the Sada instead of just the 1, but you're also setting up that Koraidon, which we saw was a very powerful attacker to deal that Togekiss in game 1.
Yeah, Koraidon getting into play thanks to that Artisan for Piper, so usually you wouldn't expect Raging Bolt to get a lot of benefit out of a stadium like Artisan, but Shizuki's showing us why he's in the top 4 of the World Championships with this Raging Bolt deck, using every resource at his disposal to accelerate energy.
Hold on, he's on the top 4 yet. We don't want to get ahead of ourselves. This is still top 8 going ahead.
Okay, we've got plenty of Pokemon to play.
Yes.
Everything is happening so fast at this tournament that sometimes it's a little bit hard to lose track of what's happening. These players, however, absolutely focused. The bench now extended thanks to Area 0. With this Latias coming down, it means all these basic Pokemon would be able to retreat. However, there's only 2 empty bench spots, so as a Raging Bolt player, you've always got to be conservative and really think towards the end of the game if you're going to need those bench slots for later. Thinks that there maybe could be a better Pokemon to put into play down the line. We'll just go ahead and get rid of 4 energy off this Pokemon, leaving just the fighting onto the onto the Koraidon and taking the first 2 prizes of this game.
Yeah, I think acknowledging that it is more than likely that Piper is going to be able to find enough energy to KO this Raging Bolt in the active, so might as well preserve at least 1 energy onto the Koraidon, just that there's 1 more in play to discard off of a Bellowing Thunder later.
And immediately, Cypher Maniac's code breaking, grabbing the rare candy and the Energy Surge Pro. It may once again seems like come down to an important Wonder Kiss flip for Piper, especially if this one does not flip heads. Shizuki could potentially threaten KOs on Togekiss later down the line. It's going to be a little bit more difficult to justify because, again, being at 4 prizes right now, you could just win the game in 2 turns if you ignore the Togekiss and just try and knock out 2 Goldengo EX.
Yeah, it's so tricky, right? It's a big difference from game 1 in the sense that the prize map doesn't allow Shizuki to safely go for this Togekiss like he would have done in game 1. So there's going to be potentially 2 chances for Piper to flip this heads to steal this win from Shizuki. So it's going to be coming down to some Wonder Kiss flips, folks.
Yeah, it feels like Shizuki, in terms of his game plan, I'm not sure he can validate going after Togekiss.
No.
It just makes the game plan so much easier for Piper. Here we go. We're going things fast. Big Wonder Kiss flip. It's heads this time. Piper getting a big-time reward, putting that Togekiss into play, and getting to take an extra prize card from this knockout, meaning she is now in complete control of the second game.
Yeah, and I think Shizuki is kind of doing the maths in his head. He's thinking about the turns passing back and forth. Is he maybe considering if it's worth going to game 3 and there's no way of carrying on? No, he's still going to try and play it out here.
He's still got much of a chance. If you maybe play one of those Iono from your deck, you can power up Raging Bolt thanks to that 1 copy of Energy Switch in the deck. There's still plenty of possibilities thanks to there being a Jewel Seeker ability online and a substantially large hand size. Let's see what Shizuki's able to put together this turn.
So was the Energy Switch discarded off of that Squawk ability during the first turn?
It was not. It was an energy retrieval.
Yes, that was it.
So a lot of energy manipulation cards or recovery cards in this Raging Bolt deck, but that Energy Switch is still a potential possibility. Now, there is a couple of Professor Sada in the discard pile, so those resources being unavailable could definitely impact some things later down the line. As we'll see Ultra Ball get played, does get rid of the Area Zero, maybe expecting just no more stadiums out of Piper, has already played that Artisan down. And now deciding if this is the time to start using these Jewel Seeker abilities to put together a large combination. There is already Noctowl in the hand, so we'll have to see if it's another Pokemon like that Raging Bolt EX instead.
Yeah, I mean, you want to get at least one Raging Bolt down, right? Because you want to make sure that you can at least KO this Goldengo in the active. Doing it in combination with an Ino could be very, very good. That might be a good way for Shizuki to try and come back here. And as you already mentioned, you can do that because you have the energy switch and you cleverly preserve that one energy onto the bench Koraidon. You can power up the Bellowing Thunder's attack cost while still disrupting, which is very, very good for Shizuki.
That Latias could be beneficial to have on the bench now, since you would preserve discarding an energy from retreating. That gets you a little bit closer. Still got access to another Teal Dance as well. So if all the pieces are there, there will actually be exactly enough energies to KO. One more Teal Dance, a manual attachment, and a pivot.
And not only that, great find here from the Nest Ball. Finds the lightning energy, so you can go ahead and Nest Ball for the Raging Bolt, attach that, and then now all you need to do is find that energy switch to go ahead and get that powered up.
You have to imagine this is what Shizuki needs to go for. Piper just has an absolutely massive hand right now, 10 or so cards at minimum. Seems like there's no better option. You can go ahead and already have all the pieces here. You can just use this Jewel Seeker, find Iono, energy switch. Instead, it's actually going to be the Earthen Vessel, so maybe already has the energy switch in the hand. You have to assume that's at least got to be the piece right now. And yes,
there it is.
It is that Diamond and Pearl energy switch.
It's the Chimchar.
Yeah, that's my boy right there. He's going to get a little bit of time in the limelight, getting rid of that baby Raging Bolt. Its time has passed. It's really not going to have a lot of impact. You can just grab a Grass Energy out of the deck, use one more of these Teal Dance, bench the Latias, and off of this disruption, Shizuki, being in a tight situation, because of that Wonder Flip, Heads Flip, is just going to give himself the best possible shot at winning this game and essentially leave it on Piper to see if she can make it rain one more time in this game too.
Yeah, Shizuki doing absolutely the best he can to secure his future. I've been really impressed in general with this game as how he has clearly streamlined his sequencing with this Raging Bolt deck so much. Every single time, I feel like he's made the exact correct decision to give himself the best chance of winning. And it's, well, I mean, it's paid off already with a top 8 at Worlds, but he, of course, he wants to go one further, and his I know is going to be his chance to do it in this game against Piper.
Yeah, so one more bench space left. Is going to have to use that for the Latias. Teal Dance number 2, drawing an additional card. Fighting energy, or rather the lightning energy in hand comes down. Energy switch, exactly enough energy in play. Smart choice again on the previous turn to leave that energy on the Koraidon. None of this would be possible if there wasn't the exact number of energy in play that there is now. It's going to go through the motions. Energy switch. Latias down. Skyliner in play, meaning this Ogerpon does not need to discard any energy, and a big Iono. Piper shuffling the large hand to the bottom of the deck and drawing just 2 cards, only going to have access to a single coin bonus ability next turn, while Shizuki will get the 4 cards in hand, plus the 2 prize cards, and potentially more cards thanks to things like Teal Dance the following turn. Bellowing Thunder will put him just 1 more attack potentially away from winning and advancing into the top 4.
Bellowing Thunder, 4 energies discarded, 280 damage, 2 more prize cards taken, one of which is one of those prize Sada's Vitalities. Let's see, what does Piper draw? It's going to be Metallic Signal to fin the deck of 2 cards.
Just going to get that. That's not how the card works. Can't grab the Genesect. Make sure you just go and check through everything. I don't think there's any targets to be grabbed out of the deck, so it's just going to shuffle the deck up, change the order. Cypher Maniac's code breaking would guarantee the game as long as there are 2 superior energy retrievals. You can discard 2 of those cards, grab back 4 energy, discard 1 to 2 of them, and then grab back the last energy cards you need. Let's see if Piper can figure this out. Just going to go ahead and use the coin bonus. It's not over just yet. There's a Pheasantipity, but there's not much else happening in this hand. I think a pair of Boss's Orders. You can thin out this Gimmighoul. And if there's nothing like an air balloon, then that means Shizuki's not even going to need a card like Prime Catcher to take a KO on a 2-prize Pokemon. It may seriously come down to this flip the script ability, finding something like Arven in combination with more ways to recover energy cards. Let's see what Piper can find.
If there was ever a more fitting name to flip the scripts, to flip this game, and to take us to a game 3, what does Piper find?
Oh,
double
energy Superior. That is the exact cards Piper needs. Come on, Piper. The plot armor coming in clutch can just grab the rest of the energy cards out. 2 from the Superior Energy Retrieval, 4 cards from the second one. With her back against the wall, she flips the script and brings us to a game number 3.
if the script has never been more flipped than it has just now. Double superior energy retrieval off of the Fezandipity EX. Unbelievable stuff here at the top 8 at the World Championships.
Back against the wall, the biggest draw potentially of your Pokemon career, and Fezandipity provides you exactly what you need. 2 superior energy retrievals, recovers all those energies, and ladies and gentlemen, we are going to a game number 3 with everything on the line.
Everything on the line, 1 game apiece and 1 more game to decide who makes it into the top 4. But before we do that, let's look over that amazing game 2 one more time.
Absolutely, Freya, completely back and forth. It was a little bit of a slower start on Piper's side, just able to take the 1 prize KO, but Shizuki had everything in response. Took the first 2, Piper was slow to get the Togepi down, didn't get it down until the 2nd KO, but that's usually reasonable, and it was this right here that kept her in the game. The flip off the Wonder Kiss ability puts her to 2 prize cards, Bellowing Thunder plus Iono, thanks to the energy switch, and it's off this last draw ability. Flip the script.
There it is.
Double superior energy retrieval. If it was not close to that exact combination of 2 ways to get superior energy retrieval, this game ends and Shizuki goes on to top 4. Instead, we're going to a game 3 with 35 minutes on the clock.
Wow, what a game. What a match it's been so far. And with plenty of time left on the clock, I don't think we're going to have to be worried about any kind of overtime shenanigans going on. We're going to see a full game 3. We're in Top Cut anyway, so there's always going to be a winner, but 1 more game to decide who gets that 1 step closer to the champion title.
And the pressure has got to be on for these players. This is just such a big game. You're praying and hoping your deck does exactly what you want it to do, that the prize cards are generous. There are so many things in and out of these players' controls, but they've got to do whatever they can to give themselves the best shot. We'll see exactly what's happening here in terms of the prizes, what everybody has. Oh my goodness. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take you down to the match, and I think we're going to get a look very quickly on what cards are prized. Because if there's ever a game to have these prizes in the Pokemon TCG, it is not this game, ladies and gentlemen.
It's not any game.
It's not any game of the Pokemon TCG. Can we see the prize cards, please? Can we just take a moment? This is unbelievable. Triple Gimme Ghoul prized. You are having access to 1 Goldango. They are not even at the bottom of the prizes. You are not even going to take any off of the first KO. This is the most unbelievable prizing we have seen in a match of this high stakes. This, is only rivaled by very few moments in the Pokemon TCG. And over on Shizuki's side, you prize the Squawkaby, you prize the Fez, but you, for the first time this set, start the Transformative Start Ditto, meaning your setup is going to be almost close to flawless, pending you have even the bare minimum to work with at this turn.
I've got to say, I'm sorry, is John Kettler in the room? The free Rowlet's call? I think they want their feature moment
That's
back.
some elite ball knowledge right there, to be honest. If you know, you know. There have been some bad prizes, but this is absolutely nightmare scenario for Piper. Is going to get the bad news immediately. The Fan Rotom, the choice from that Transformative Start Ditto, doing what it does best, transforming into any Pokemon you'd like. Fan Call can be used, and Shizuki having an excellent start, going first, getting these Pokemon into play, and Piper is going to have to see what she can work with. But at the end of the day, Fred, if there's anybody who can make a comeback, or rather deal with these tough circumstances, it's going to be someone as seasoned as Piper Lepine.
It absolutely is. And to a similar note, we saw John Eng take down a regional or take down a match after prizing what I think it was all of the Giratinas or something along those lines, where I think it was John who prized so many of the same copy or something and was still able to take it. So Piper, just as experienced as that, if anyone can do it, it's her.
So we'll see what else is available for Shizuki on this first turn. Interestingly enough, is actually going to get down another Fan Rotom just to put it into the hand, potentially signaling there's some sort of fodder maybe later on. Actually, wow, not much happening there. I don't think there's any way so far to get down a Terra Pokemon, and Piper is immediately going to get the bad news that there is 1 Gimme Ghoul in this deck, meaning you've maybe got to start pulling some tricks out of the bag. I need to remind everybody here that Togekiss can attack. It is a potential option. You can swing with the Togekiss. At the end of the day, you've got to pull out whatever bag of tricks you have in a scenario as dire as this one.
I am once again...
You can't even use the Togekiss. The candy's prize too. You can't even get that into play. This is unbelievable. I am at a loss for words. With the circumstances involved, this is absolutely worst case scenario. this is not how you want to see things go.
Yeah, and also like 2 more 1-ups as well, just an insult to injury. The Pheasantipity, which is always good, and Tool Scrapper just to get rid of random stuff. I don't know if I don't remember if Shizuki plays any tools. I don't think I've seen any so far. I think all I've got to say, other than that, is considering the circumstances, Piper's holding a pretty impressive poker face. I don't think I'd be able to like emote that little.
I was going to say I would probably break in this spot. Maybe start crying. Who knows? Oh. This is not what you want to see on that first X search, and you can immediately see the gears
turning. The little grimace.
A bit of a grimace. I mean, but it's hard to not show emotion in this spot.
Of
the
course.
biggest game of your Pokemon career, and everything that you want to happen does not happen.
Yeah.
Does find Arven off of the Poke Gear. I'm not sure there was actually another supporter, so at least a solid start, but you can Buddy Poffin for a single Pokemon. You can get the Togepi down if you'd like.
I think you may as well, right? I mean,
yeah, I mean, there's no rare candy. It is always an easy Pokemon to be knocked out with something like Thunderburst Storm. That is something to consider. It does have just 50 HP, but you've got no better option. Togepi's going to come down, and
it's a bait, right?
It's going to support. It's going to support everybody on the sidelines. Piper's just really got to hope that this first Goldengo EX can just steamroll the way through this match, because if it gets KO'd, it's essentially almost game over because you have no way to set things back up, and every time your Gimmighoul is going to come down, it's just going to get targeted by Boss or a snipe from Thunderburst Storm.
Also, hold on a second. There is a Nest Ball in Shizuki's hand. He's got it all. He's going to be firing on all cylinders this turn. He can go ahead and grab that Teal Mask Ogerpon, and there is nothing holding him back.
So now that Jewel Seeker ability is online, I wonder if there's the potential ability to... I think, actually, the Thunderburst Storm can take a KO on the only Gimmighoul in play, right? If you use a Teal Dance ability, Latias to retreat, and then use the Crispin from the deck, you get the manual attachment, the effective Crispin, and the energy switch effect. That 3 energy could allow you to snipe the Gimmighoul, and then every single turn a Gimmighoul comes down into play, you just continuously use Thunderburst Storm over and over again. You could do all of that, or make a play as simple as this, where you just use Boss's orders, put a Stadium in play, target the Gimmighoul down, and just keep yourself an extra Jewel Seeker. This is a lot more conservative and gets to a very similar outcome, I feel.
I like this. I mean, obviously, powering up the Raging Bolts, the single prizer, is pretty good as well. But, I mean, yeah, 70 damage KOs with Gimmighoul. Why not, right? Just Boss's orders, bring it up. But it's simplicity at its beautiful best.
Playing fast and with intention. KO takes the Pheasantipity out of the prize cards. Still has access to Jewel Seeker. The Fan Rotom is powered up. This guy can spin, but this guy can also hit Assault Landing KOs. And now Piper only has one way to recover something like Gimmighoul out of the discard pile. Is going to use the Cypher Maniac, but that means there's no way to draw cards this turn because the Pheasantipity is still prized. You can stack the deck to the top, but it's going to be just another bonus turn for Shizuki to build up energy on the board, start powering up Pokemon, and meaning that when that Gimmighoul does get rebenched again, it's just going to be prime for the taking.
Well, a heartbreaker for Piper Lepine, doing her absolute best given the circumstances, but yeah, you can honestly, I'm with you. If that was me in that situation, I'm not sure if I'd be able to hold it together. But and like, who can blame her at this point? I mean, the biggest match of your life, and then just to have like variance thrown so cruelly in your face this way, it's a part of the game. We know it happens. We try to play around as best we can, but sometimes you just can't avoid the way the cards land.
And just a pass, and if Shizuki can find enough energy cards here, I think it is just possible that he can knock out Genesect EX, right?
Yeah.
Use a Crispin, retreat with the Latias, Teal Dance, and if you can do all of that, 4 energy, discarded, using something like that to just KO, and it looks like that is going to be somewhat similar to the line Shizuki wants to go for. Even just attacking now with something like the Baby Raging Bolt would be more than enough. You can KO the Togepi and then guarantee a KO. So I'm not sure Shizuki had a way to search out that Baby Raging Bolt, but it feels like it's just a little bit better of a target to have powered up, since KOing the Genesect doesn't really provide you much value. You're in no rush to take that Pokemon out.
No, I guess not, but at the same time, you're stopping Piper from putting more cards in the deck, right? You're getting closer to winning. Your opponent is in such a bad position, it might honestly just not even matter at this point, as kind of defeatist as that is to say.
Absolutely. It's always important, though, even with a lead like this, comebacks are possible.
That's
so making sure you make the optimal plays every turn can be difficult when you just tunnel into this fact of, oh, I'm going to win this game, my opponent is doing nothing. We've seen comebacks like this before in the Pokemon TCG. You still can't fault Shizuki for taking this line. It's still going to be able to take a 2-prize KO, leave Piper with just a Togepi in hand, and most likely a top deck that at most gets a Gimme Ghoul into play. And from there, what can Piper do if that Gimme Ghoul is KO'd again?
Yeah, it's just not a good it's just not a good feeling no matter which way you square it. There's the Latias EX coming down, Skyliner giving everything free retreat, well, at least all the basics on Shizuki's field, and then the big KO onto the Genset EX, and then Piper, we know it's the draw, it's the Night Stretcher, gonna play that, grab back that Gimme Ghoul, and then what, it's just going to be a pass afterwards. Oh, okay, boss's orders bring out the Noctowl. Okay, maybe this will be something.
Yeah, this is why I would have really liked to just see the baby Raging Bolt get powered up, because you just commit all these resources and it doesn't really change anything, right? You're still just having to go ahead and power all these Pokemon up again. Now, you know, there's a chance, a very likely chance actually, that Shizuki is unable to KO this bench Gimme Ghoul, right? Would need the Sada plus the attachment plus the energy switch, and you can't search out these specific cards anymore. Does have the Turo, and it looks like it's just going to be content taking a 1-prize KO onto the Togepi. Is that more than enough a lead being at 4 prizes, and knows that Piper cannot disrupt the hand, so building up a large hand size and a board is optimal in a spot like this to allow yourself to just make a pop-off combo on the following turn.
Yeah, I think that although, like you were saying, you don't want to potentially leave a gap for a comeback, so you want to account for every single scenario, but even with all that, I think Shizuki is doing absolutely fine here. Only 2 prize cards away from winning. You know that your opponent has had some really rough prizing. I mean, there will be, I guess, an option for a KO here. We do see the Energy Search Pro, and the Goldengo's already in hand, so maybe Piper can like start to think of doing something here, but it's just such a rough situation.
Again, you know, Piper would have to find boss's orders without really much card draw at this point. You know, some cards have naturally built up in the hand. You're going to thin those energies out with Energy Search Pro. But assuming you take a KO on this fan Rotom, you have to assume Shizuki's just got the game guaranteed, right? The Noctowl is already in the hand, thanks to that Professor Turo picking it back up and re-benching the Hoot Hoot. So it seems like, you know, Piper, while the finally Goldengo EX comes into play, it's got to be accompanied by a boss's orders. If there's not a boss's orders coming down, it seems like it's just Sparks game over. See what you can do.
No, there it is.
The boss orders, and is just going to go after the Hoot Hoot, make it as hard as possible for these trainers to be searched out of the deck. But I think Shizuki might have the pieces here. Just needs to find either a Lightning or a Fighting Energy, as the Sada's already there. Let's see what can be found. There's Flip the Script. Nestball can search things out. I think he is very, very close from winning this game.
Yeah, Nestball's going to go ahead. Oh, no, wait, the Pheasantipity is it still prized? No, he got it out of the prizes.
So can leave one bench space open for Pheasantipity. This also means now benching another ancient Pokemon. Energy Switch is also an out for you to be able to take a KO on this Goldango. So here we go for Shizuki. Big turn. Shuffles the deck up. He's going to get to draw 3 cards from this Flip the Script ability, and then another 3 cards from the Professor Sada. Just needs to find an energy card. What does he find? Top 3 cards of the deck. Do we see it? No. Ultra Ball. No other Pokemon can play this Ultra Ball first. Thin a Pokemon out of the deck. Give yourself better outs. It's just going to play the Sada right away. And one more time. 3 cards. Just needs to find a Fighting Energy. What do we see off of the 3? It's a Night Stretcher. If there's a Fighting Energy in the discard pile, which there is, Shizuki Nakagawa can get this Bellowing Thunder online and advance into the World Championship top 4.
Huge congratulations to Shizuki Nakagawa, just not letting up, knowing that the opponent, knowing that Piper was in such a disadvantaged position, but not losing sight of what was important, taking the KOs and just capitalizing on that disadvantage. Huge commiserations to Piper. Your heart has got to break for her after playing your heart out in in all 3 of those games, but just the free Gimme Ghoul prize and the Pheasantipity for good measure. Probably some of the worst prizes you could ask for in any game, let alone at top 8 of the World Championships. What a heartbreaker. Yeah,
absolutely, Harper. You have to feel for her. The biggest match of her career as a Pokemon player, and you do everything right, and you see her shrug. What is she supposed to do in that spot? You got bodied by your prize cards. Get on the chin, Piper. There's, again, not much you can do. And that set was back and forth in this first game.